Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the viral, or number of viral videos that are doing the rounds about the three North American university presidents who were quizzed by members of a congressional committee. I think Elise Stefanik was one of them, and others, about their the university or the college policies and attitudes towards the recent Hamas on-campus activities in terms of the protests, the announcements and claims that were being made at the protest, the signs on the placards, the verbal exhortations by the agitators to the crowd of students, and so on. Now, not everyone at these gatherings, marches, call them what you like, was Hamas or Middle Eastern or Muslim or anything. There were lots of especially young white girls who were coming along as just passengers, fighting valiantly for the cause that they didn't understand or comprehend or even appreciate in a minor degree. Nonetheless, there was some pretty unpleasant calls that were made, suggesting or implying that genocide was an appropriate thing for certain races of people, and so on. And this seems to be quite sort of, wow. Talk about in your face and radical. And it was a surprise, certainly to me, that the universities didn't shut it down. Now, these are the same universities that if you don't use somebody's pronoun, you can be thrown out of the university, that the entire weight of the administration will come down on you. And say if a girl accuses a boy there of date rape or sexually unwanted advances, again, the entire weight of the establishment comes down on those people. So they're certainly not shy, these universities, about using exceptional levels of force and brutality to crush what they perceive as non-woke behavior. Now, in this case, we've got a bunch of radicals rampaging the length and breadth, as I understand it, rampaging the length and breadth of the university, calling for some very violent behaviour towards, again, a certain group that is they have a nation state in the Levant, and yet the university saying, well, it's a free speech matter. Oh, I don't know. And, it's kind of not that bad if it's all pervasive. And so we need to just unpack this, because it seems on the surface to be insane and crazy. And why, if you're prepared to brutally and viciously persecute someone for being fatphobic or for not using somebody's pronoun, a trans pronoun, why are you taking a completely hands-off position on this infinitely worse and infinitely more violent, containing infinitely more threats of violence and so on? So, and why is there this double or multi-layer of standards? So we need to examine that. So let's get down to that, because surely if it's no good for one, then it's no good for the other, and that there should be some aggressive policing, assuming aggressive policing in any time. It should be at least as aggressive when addressing this, or one would think so. So let's get to. So we need to understand that the entire sort of concept of oppression is built around and ideologically constructed the architecture, the essence of the architecture, the raison d'etre. The whole thing is built around the pre-assumption that the oppressor will always be a straight white male Christian. That's the entire structure of the oppression regime ideologically. And so when an oppression occurs outside of that, where there are, say, two victim groups, where both victim groups are vying for the gold medal, then places, woke institutions like the universities and the education system generally, they don't know what to do. They're thrown into confusion. They don't know, do we back one or do we back the other? I mean, we can't back both. And again, as part of the structure of the evil straight white male Christian being the only oppressor, they create a sharp divide in ideologically. There has to be an oppressor and a victim. There must be. That is the architecture of this whole oppression sort of equation. So that when they come to something like this, and they see on this side, there's Hamas, and on this other side there's the descendants of Abraham and Moses. When they see these two together, both of them qualify for handsome numbers of victim points in the oppression Olympic stakes. So how do you decide which one to back? Because you have to back one. There has to be an oppressor. There has to be, the ideology demands it. There must be this. It must be so. So they look at this and go, well, who do we back? Which one? I mean, holy fuck, what do we do? We've always assumed it's a straight white male who's the oppressor. Now there's no straight white male in sight, no straight white male Christian in sight. Instead, there are two victim groups vying for the maximum victimhood prize. Which way do we go? And they're fucked. They are fucked. Ideologically, they are fucked. So they look at this and say, okay, well, we have to then go back to ideological sort of stepping stones. So let's go to the beginning again. Which one of these groups has the most ideological power, the most sort of social power, entrenched power, or the greatest socioeconomic power? So they look for power centres and say, okay, let's count up the power centres that they've got. Let's now do that, because two victim groups, so we can't just say, well, there's a straight white male Christian, he's the daddy. So we've got to do just a little bit differently here. So let's count up the power centres. So one is a nation state and the other sort of, half nation state. So, okay, all right, the nation state has the most power. One has more money than the other and a bigger military and more organised. Okay, so all right, well, they have the most social economic power. Therefore, they are the oppressor. That's it. Ideologically, we've come out clean. We have satisfied the ideological purity test. So they are the oppressors. They are the victims. Bingo. Now, the victims want to do some demonstrations on university campus, and because they are the victims and because they don't start from a position of pre-assumed, predetermined oppression, because they're a victim group, unlike straight white male Christians, like they're already the Nazis. Before they even make a single argument, they're already the bad guys, because ideologically we've predetermined and pre-assigned that title to them in the ideological fantasy universe that we live in. So they've already got that. So they even have to, all they got to do is say hello. That's it. Nazi, fascist, Hitler. So straight white Christian males, they're already 99.9% Nazis. Anything they do gets it to the 100% straight away. Anything. How are you this morning? Isn't it a nice day? Anything at all gets them to that stage. But the two victim groups, they don't. So there has to be like a recalculation of the calculation, because neither one of them starts from the beginning position of already being guilty of horrendous evil. So as they're juggling the balls and keeping them all in the end, holy fuck. And it just so happens that Hamas, and the Palestinians just happen in this ideological sort of mincing machine, just happen to come out with more victim points. So because they're not pre-assumed to be evil, guilty, and all that sort of stuff, then they're able to do things like, a bit like the Black Lives Matter. They can go and commit murder or burn buildings down or do all sort of things like that. And, well, it's kind of not really that bad, because they're only responding, they're only fighting back against oppression. So really they're still not guilty, because the oppressors are oppressing, they're fighting back against oppression, because and then think of any any sort of hysterical sociology student, lesbian dance theory, girly attitude to it, and then you're kind of there. So that's really where it goes. Now, so that's how it ended up. I don't think it is, anti the Steins or the Bergs. I don't think it is that. That how it sort of comes across in the delivery process. But I just think the reality is the university did their ideological sort of somersaulting and handstanding, and they say, hey, these guys actually have a few more victim points than those guys. So they're the ones that we have to support, because that's how. But again, that's the structure. Because the assumption is that the baddies will always be straight white male Christians. So that is the baddie. Those are the bad guys. Everyone else is a relative good guy. Those are the bad guys, and will always be the bad. Automatically, they are the bad guys, and must be seen so. And that's going to create the social revolution for equity and da da da. So I don't think it was. Everyone's running around saying it's, anti the Israeli nation state. I don't believe it. I think it was just an ideological case of victim point outcome calculation. Again, using the ideology. Now let's go to these presidents. Now I'm looking at, here's one here. I won't mention which one it is, but she's comes from a legal political family that's well connected. So she's never had a real job in her entire life, and her entire career or working life, career, can you call it that, is to be a globalist. Spread social dysfunction, break social cohesion, stooge. That's been her job from day one. So, her first, she got some affirmative action degrees, and so a professional uni student, if you like, very much tied up in the social justice activism as a younger woman. Then she gets given a job. She's been given a series of special, political, ideological assignments. Like her first job was to get more women, particularly black women, into science, educate. That was her job. So how do you do that and quickly get results? Because if you do a long-term thing of providing extra resources, for example, to black women, black lesbians, that sort of thing, then it's a long time, because you're only ever going to find a few bright ones that really want to take advantage of the opportunity. So the results will come very slowly over generations even. So, but that's not your job. Your job is, given to you by the globalist cabal. Your job is to get quick results, fast results. You want to be able to report that they give you the job in February or March in the year, and by November in that year, you want to be able to report big results, headline results. And so how do you do that? Well, you just either lower the standards, or because you often have to do both, or you just gift affirmative action degrees to every black lesbian you can find. And so at the end you say, well, look, equity, look at equality. We said we were going to get more black lesbians into science, and look, only months later we've got the result. Wow. Holy shit, this woman gets results. Holy fuck. We've discovered all these high IQ geniuses who were previously being oppressed by the evil patriarchy. The reality, of course, is they just lowered the standards and handed out gifted degrees to people who were just from the right tribe or skin color or group or whatever, gender. So now she then goes from there to really another gig doing the same thing. Again, it's always how to, because the amount of places in the courses that I had a look at a couple of them. So to say there's 100 places in the course now, there may be 110 places in the following year in this particular science of some sort. And her job is to get this who is now president, is to get more black lesbians into this course. So they do this by just denying places to straight white men. That's it, and gifting degrees to people who wouldn't have even made it out of junior high school, all to create the outcome that appears to show equality and equity and so on. And they put about the propaganda that the only reason these black lesbians couldn't get science degrees, and PhDs, isn't because they have an IQ of minus 5 million. It's because they were held back by all this evil fascist Nazi straight white males. So they put this crazy story around the place, and then now that's been her entire career. Her entire working life has been dedicated to taking away university places from high achieving straight white males. That's it. That's been her job. She hasn't had another fucking job or job requirement, and her performance is assessed on, again, how many high IQ straight white males are denied places at university. That's the sole determinant of her success. Now, as you can imagine, the leftist media and the globalist cabal and all this people, they're she's highly thought of in those circles. Very much on board with the globalist project and the ideology of equity and oppression and the dualist model and all this sort of stuff. So she's just a crazy ideological fanatic. I mean, you wouldn't give her a job cleaning the toilets, for fuck's sake. But she's managed to get to the status of president of the university. I just want to, the board of trustees, the people who are signing off on this. There's a lot of people had to, sign off on this for her and the other two, by the way, to become a president of a university, because it's a very prestigious, very well-paid job. Yet here's someone in the whole life, she's never actually had a job. She has never once had a job. All she has ever done, the only thing she's ever done is push affirmative action programs and radically so. That's all she's done. There's no capability or impartial measurement of performance here. It's just, hey, guess what? I gave a lot of affirmative action degrees to black lesbians, and I denied high IQ straight white males positions at university. That's my achievement. I mean, fuck, that's an achievement. I mean, people like that should be just run out of the whole education system, in my view, anyway. Now, when you look at these presidents, certainly in my opinion, they're all affirmative action appointments. None of them have earned their position based on educational or administrative merit. I mean, administering a university, is quite a big job, or should be. I'm sure they've got a lot of people there, departmental type managers and deputy presidents also. Those people got to do stuff as well. And I appreciate that some of the president roles, they're kind of as much a figurehead as anything else. Being president of university used to be, or was considered, a stepping stone to, say, bigger things, becoming a governor, state governor, or even a presidential. I mean, President Woodrow Wilson, as an example, was as I recall, I'm going back to my history lesson, he was a dean or a president of a university. So this is it. So we've got a bunch of affirmative action, I hate straight white male flunkies, whose sole, all of them, they've just been there. They've just been employed full time in the affirmative action, equity, equal outcome thing. None of them have been involved in educational rigor. None of them have been involved in making the university a more efficient place. They've all been involved, heavily involved, in the insane woke ideology of, use the wrong pronoun or fat phobia and we're going to throw you out, and doing terrible things like having these woke tribunals to determine the guilt or innocence of a student, where, and you look at the numbers here. If you're a straight white male Christian, you're found guilty on pretty much every time anyone accuses you of something, provided that person comes from a victim group, which invariably they do. I mean, it's good business in universities to accuse straight white male Christians of anything you want, and you'll have all resources will be made available to you to vigorously pursue the accused straight white male Christian. But when it comes to when it comes to two victim groups where they're accusing each other of things where there's no sort of clear victim point sort of advantage to one group or another, then they try and sort of broker the difference. They're much more unlikely to hear the case. they won't pursue it with the same sort of vigor and the same sort of sense of where the righteousness of the the energetic fanatical righteousness of the whole thing. But if it's a straight white male Christian, all resources are available to go out and go and chase after them. Whereas again with the minorities, so they're administering a woke hothouse of ideological fanaticism. That's all the fuck they're doing. They're not administering, in my opinion, they're not administering a university where educational rigor, or they're going to turn out the next generation of rocket scientists. Far from it. In fact, you'd think that was the only mission that they did not have, even though they're Ivy League universities. Now, you see this attitude right across the woke spectrum. And just to sort of give you an example here of how this wokeness infects the practice of law and education and a whole range of things today, is looking at say a divorce court case here where it's the two black people are getting divorced, and the man's just a labourer. He's unemployed pretty much all the time. They've got nothing there to take. There's no house. There's no no assets to steal or anything like that. And the court officials just don't care. They're just going through the motions. Here's two black people, and nobody cares. No one's interested. They're filing the paperwork. That's it. The next case, though, is the straight white male Christian who owns a couple of houses, and you can almost see like a bolt of electricity goes through them. Suddenly, they're all action. They're all focused. They're all business. They're out to get the damn Christian fucking straight white male motherfucker. They're out to fucking nail that. He is a fucking oppressor, and he deserves to be destroyed by these woke, fanatical warriors. And so you see in that the type of difference. And you see the behavioural difference, and you see that in the universities. So this is my take on it. I don't see it as a particularly focused as being against, or the university condoning or supporting as being against one racial group or people from that nation state in the Levant. I see it more that the other side just happen to have a few more victim points, and ideologically they're committed to behaving in a certain way, based on an ideological sort of architecture structure of straight white male Christians are always the bad guys. So there's a default position. There's the bad guy and the good guy. And I think they just went down that sort of ideological path. You're in Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.